Some forward-thinking people were more innovative than others and came up with inventions that in many cases could have brought benefits to the world. Unfortunately, their inventions were either shelved or destroyed. Why? Because powerful corporations in the West wish to keep it that way. A level playing field would be disastrous for their profits and their shareholders. The following are 6 men who tried to bring their inventions and brilliant ideas to the world but were defeated by these powerful elites. Some of these technologies could have been exported to poorer countries and lifted their standard of living, which could have changed the world and created a higher standard of living for all and not just the few. Please be advised that if any of these medical conditions apply to yourself, always seek professional advice. Number 6. Linus Pauling. Cure for heart disease. Pauling believed that heart disease is a result of long-term vitamin C deficiency. The solution is to treat patients with frequent high doses of vitamin C while using amino acids to removing plaque that lines the inner walls of the blood vessels that cause a narrowing or blocking of the blood vessels, which is responsible for restricting blood flow and cardiovascular disease. According to Linus Pauling, coronary heart disease is not a disease at all. Rather, it is a symptom of an enzyme missing in humans that is needed in order to make ascorbic acid or vitamin C. Because humans cannot make vitamin C in the liver like most animals, they require high levels of ascorbic acid in the diet in order to manufacture the vast amounts of collagen required for the maintenance of blood vessels, bones, discs, organs, skin, ligaments, cartilage, tendons, and teeth. When the body lacks vitamin C, the coronary arteries suffer and begin to deteriorate first because they are subject to the greatest degree of mechanical stress from the pumping action of the beating heart. The process whereby the body utilizes cholesterol in this way, in the absence of collagen through vitamin C deficiency, is quite miraculous, and despite the bad press that cholesterol has gotten for years as being the cause of heart disease, it is actually life-saving. However, if this simple treatment threatened the corporate profitability and perceived financial threat, it comes as no surprise that it has not been pursued as a healthy alternative against cardiovascular disease. The drug companies are not in the business of making people well. That would be disastrous for their profits and shareholders. They need to keep people sick so that they will continue to buy their drugs. Number 5. Raymond Rife. Microscope for curing cancer. Rife's previous work had led him to believe that microorganisms, that's bacteria, viruses and parasites, were at the root of all disease. To prove his theory, he had to see these pathogens in their live state during his experiments, some of which were so small, particularly viruses, that no imaging equipment existed that could come close to viewing them. Rife claimed that by using a specially designed optical microscope, he could observe these microbes which were too small to detect with previously existing technology. As a mechanical engineer and microscopy expert, he built a microscope that could magnify 60,000 times. Rife's microscope used monochromatic light that caused the organism to fluoresce. Wright could identify the virus he was observing by the colour it refracted. After successfully curing a number of cancer patients, the Rockefeller-owned American Medical Association, AMA, later had this work shelved by closing down Rife's setups and seizing his equipment. Rife refused to hand over the rights of his work to the AMA because he saw moneyed interests as hidden ulterior motives, that the cancer machine would not be allowed to the world at large because the AMA and the medical pharmaceutical establishments don't want patients cured, as that would mean no more revenue. The companies made their profits by only treating the symptoms, guaranteeing the cancer returns and thus repeat business. After years of ensuing court cases with the big pharmaceutical companies of the cancer establishment and having little money, Rife was exiled in Mexico to avoid imprisonment in the USA and died of alcoholism. The pressures of harassment related to the legal battles and constant threat of imprisonment had been too much for him. Number 4. Harry Hoxsey, Remedies for Curing Cancer. Developed and handed down from successive generations, Harry Hoxsey was able to use a herbal remedy and an externally applied paste to successfully treat cancer. The herbal formula detoxified the body and boosted the immune system, while the external paste got rid of tumours on the outside. From this, 17 private cancer clinics had been established throughout the USA. In the mid-1950s, a number of doctors reviewed Hoxsey's work and came to the conclusion that Hoxsey's cancer clinic in Dallas, Texas is successfully treating pathologically proven cases of cancer, both internal and external, without the use of surgery, radium or x-rays. Some of these presented before them had been free of symptoms as long as 24 years. After the review, the doctors said that they were willing to assist the clinic in any way possible in bringing the treatment to the American people. After hearing the doctors' reviews, the AMA tried to buy the treatment. Hoxsey refused on the grounds that they would not give it to the poor people free of charge. A long legal and political battle enraged with much media interest. Several thousand people testified they had been cured using Hoxsey's work, while the AMA refused third-party evaluations. In spite of these circumstances favouring Hoxsey and winning his case, the medical fraternity soon branded him a quack or charlatan. He continued his treatment over the years and was arrested up to hundreds of times. Each arrest, he was able to make bail and continue. The fact that no patient would testify against him and the acting district attorney's brother was cured by his methods may well have been the reasons for his continual reprieve. Eventually, however, the FDA managed to seize the remedies from the patients' homes and shut down the clinics. This story, however, does have a good ending. A former nurse in one of the clinics, Mildred Nelson, took the treatment to Mexico. The clinic, under a different name, still exists to this day and by all accounts is deemed to be a compassionate, caring and most of all successful institution with an 80% cure rate with medical records to prove it. The authorities and the National Cancer Institute have deliberately looked the other way. Number 3. Nikola Tesla, Wardenclyffe Tower Project. One of Tesla's most famous inventions was the Wardenclyffe Tower Project. In 1905, a team of construction workers in the small village of Shoreham, New York, laboured to erect an extraordinary structure. Over a period of several years, the men had managed to assemble the framework and wiring for the 187-foot tall Wardenclyffe Tower. Atop his tower was perched a 55-ton dome of conductive metals, and beneath it stretched an iron and root system that penetrated more than 300 feet into the Earth's crust. In essence, Tesla's global power grid was designed to pump the planet with electricity, which would intermingle with the natural telluric currents that move throughout the Earth's crust and oceans. At the same time, towers like the one at Wardenclyffe would fling columns of raw energy skyward into the electricity-friendly ionosphere 50 miles up. To tap into this energy conduit, customers' homes would be equipped with a buried ground connection and a relatively small spherical antenna on the roof, thereby creating a low-resistance path to close the giant Earth ionosphere circuit. Ocean-going ships could use a similar antenna to draw power from the network while at sea. In addition to electricity, these currents could carry information over great distances by bundling radio frequency energy along with the power, much like the modern technology to send high-speed internet data over the power lines. It was Tesla's attempt to provide everyone on the globe with free energy through harnessing electricity from the Earth's ionosphere by means of the towers. Without wires, the towers could transmit the harnessed electricity to ground level areas requiring it. However, Tesla's funding was stopped. His equipment and lab were burned down together with related intellectual property because it posed a threat to undercutting the cost of the conventional electricity grid system. If Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower project had been allowed to flourish and not be destroyed, then today we could well be living in a non-polluting, renewable environment. Number 2. Wilhelm Reich. Cloud busting and weather control. Reich's device manipulated orgone energy, a cosmic life force which also happened to hold clouds together. The cloudbuster was a set of hollow tubes pointing to the sky and earthed by a connection to water. It could supposedly form or disperse clouds and cause or prevent rain. Reich's theory attracted considerable media attention. In 1953, blueberry farmers in Maine offered to pay Reich if he could end a drought that threatened the crop. Reich set up his cloudbuster and operated it for just over an hour. The next morning, it started raining and the crop was saved. However, there were certain corporations that had their eye on Reich's inventions and did not like what they saw. Allowing something like this could lead to food abundance and greatly contribute to ending world hunger. However, these corporations do not want world hunger to end. If this happened, it would make it more difficult to control people, in which there may no longer be third world countries to exploit. Who would we then get to make our products in slave-like conditions? This would be catastrophic to their profit margins. Wilhelm Reich was hounded by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, having accused him of fraud and deception with his cloudbuster instrument. His equipment was seized and destroyed. His last days were spent in prison, where it was claimed that he died of a heart attack. However, Reich still had his disciples, and there are instructions online to build your own cloudbuster. The modern version is more sophisticated than Reich's. Although typically it looks like copper pipes standing in a paint pot filled with double terminated quartz crystals, it is said to automatically restore atmospheric balance and end drought without the need for a human operator. This makes it much safer than the original. However, Reich warned that his cloudbuster had to be operated responsibly, as it could drill holes in the sky and produce prolonged rain or even cause tornadoes if used by an unskilled practitioner. Number 1. Stanley Meyer. The car that runs on water. Meyer invented a car that ran on water instead of the conventional fossil fuels. His focus on water as a fuel began in 1975, a year after the end of the Arab oil embargo, which had triggered high gas prices, long gas pump lines and anxiety. He said it became imperative that we must try to bring in an alternative fuel source and do it very quickly. This led to Meyer developing what he patented as the water fuel cell. Meyer claimed that an automobile retrofitted with the device could use water as fuel instead of gasoline. The water fuel cell purportedly split water into its component elements, hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen was then burned to generate energy, a process that reconstituted the water molecules. According to Meyer, the device required less energy to perform electrolysis than the minimum energy requirement predicted or measured by conventional science. Eyewitness accounts suggest that Meyer had developed an electric cell which split ordinary tap water into hydrogen and oxygen with far less energy than that required by a normal electrolytic cell. Meyer made a demonstration before Professor Michael Lawton, Dean of Engineering at Mary College London, Admiral Sir Anthony Griffin from the British Navy, and Dr. Keith Hindley, a UK research chemist. They all agreed that Meyer's cell, developed at the inventor's home in Grove City, Ohio, produced far more hydrogen-oxygen mixture than could have been expected by simple electrolysis. Stanley Meyer claimed that his invention could do what physicists say is impossible: turn water into hydrogen fuel. In one test, his invention was efficient enough to drive his dune buggy cross-country on 20 gallons straight from the tap. In another test, he was able to drive a car from New York to Los Angeles on just 22 gallons of water. Meyer turned down an offer of $1 billion to hand over the rights and patents. For this refusal, it has been said that he was murdered for profit, having died of uranium poisoning. Stanley was at home when he took a sip of cranberry juice. Then he grabbed his neck, bolted out the door, dropped to his knees and vomited violently. His brother Stephen ran outside after him, where he claimed his brother's final words were, "They poisoned me." Stanley Meyer's bizarre death at age 57 ended work that, if proved valid, could have ended reliance on fossil fuels. People who knew him say his work drew worldwide attention, with government spying and lucrative buyout offers. It appears he was too much of a financial threat to the ruling elites, conventional oil industry, with its petrochemical derivative. With such energetic sustainability, Meyer's invention could have made a revolutionary contribution to our planet's environment and economy. If the full specifications of his work had been allowed to be published, we'd all be using his technology today.